What time prior to that did you do investigations into subs around other submarines? How many months prior to signing that contract? How much time and effort was put in by the Defence Force in looking at other subs that were available prior to the Shortfin Barracuda?
We commenced the competitive evaluation process in 2015, and work on other options had been proceeding from about 2011. So about 4 years of work looking at various options that included military off-the-shelf, a modified military off-the-shelf, and evolved columns.
With the Shortfin Barracuda, you've signed a contract with the Naval Group, which is a French firm, with regards to it. Did you specifically go looking for a diesel submarine, or what were you looking for?
The competitive evaluation process was for a conventionally powered submarine. That's a diesel electric submarine, Senator. Not any other form of submarine.
So, was it based on for a pump jet sub that you basically
It was based on, what we were looking for was based on the best solution that 3 international participants within the competitive evaluation process could offer to meet Australia's capability requirements. We did not specify to any of the participants the form of solution it should take, the form of the submarine. It was up to those international participants to present their design and their design capabilities, more importantly, to meet Australia's capability requirements for its future submarine.
You didn't have you didn't want a nuclear sub? That was completely out of the equation?
A nuclear submarine was not in consideration, and government policy was that we would acquire a conventionally powered submarine as the future submarine.
So you were either looking at a pump jet or you were looking at diesel?
I think you're confusing, Senator, a pump jet as being a nuclear-powered submarine versus what is in fact a conventionally powered submarine. A pump jet is a form of propulsion. It's not a form of power for the submarine. So what it is, in fact, is a form of propulsion that fits to the back of the submarine, and rather than taking the form of a conventional propeller, it takes the form of a shrouded rotor with a set of stators in there that in operation creates thrust through the water.
So, all right. Then with the Shortfin Barracuda, how are they run? On what? So I think getting to the point that we're trying to make here is that the proposal offered by France included a pump jet. So it is pump jet. So you're going pump jet.
The proposal
but the design you've come up with is, this is why you've chosen them as the design to go with the pump jet. So it's not propellers, is it?
The proposal offered by France included a pump jet, and that's the proposal that we've accepted. And a pump jet remains on offer, and that's what we intend to use for the future submarine. And
that's why you chose France?
No, that is not alone why we chose France. There are a number of things, and I'm on record as providing testimony at the Senate of the number of things that we considered in the selection of Naval Group as our international partner. There were a range of factors, and they were all over the capability of the international partner to deliver a regionally superior submarine, and one over which Australia would have the sovereign capacity to operate and sustain throughout its life. So there are a number of criteria in mind. We looked at the capabilities, that includes the platform capabilities. We looked at the ability of the international partners to work with the combat system integrator of our choice, and those things in particular pertain to the capability of the boat. We looked at rough order magnitude costs and schedules to ensure the participants understood the scale of the program that we were embarking upon and could give us insights into the manner in which they would manage costs and schedule throughout the program. We looked at matters concerning program management, We looked at the design and the way that safety is incorporated into the design. It's important that that was understood from the outset, because whilst the international partner would be designing the submarine, it would be the Commonwealth that would be responsible for certifying the submarine as safe and fit for operations. And we needed to make sure that the certifying process would match the design philosophy. We looked at methods of sustainment. We looked at the manner in which each of the participants would support the establishment of a sovereign sustainment capability in Australia. And of course that was a key lesson from the Collins program. Even though we built the submarines in Australia, it took us some time to establish the sovereign capacity to sustain those boats. And indeed, having done that now is the reason why we are able to deliver beyond international benchmark availability. We also looked into matters in which the way data would be transferred to Australia, the manner in which intellectual property would also be managed in the program. We looked at the ability of the participants to manage risks, and again, throughout this complex program, that would be a very important factor. So I would say that we just didn't pick a submarine with a pump jet. We picked an international partner that could meet a range of requirements to achieve not only a regionally sub-area submarine, but the sovereign capacity to operate and sustain that submarine, and to deliver that within the time frame that would be necessary. I'd like to point out that that process was peer-reviewed. It was peer-reviewed by an expert advisory panel. The expert advisory panel found that the process was sound, the participants had been treated fairly, and indeed I might add that the expert advisory panel also met with each of the participants on several occasions to ensure that they were satisfied that the process was being run competently and soundly. I'd also say that the results of our work were peer-reviewed by former program managers from the United States, who made no recommendations to change the course and the manner in which we were conducting the competitive evaluation process, and indeed came to the conclusion that the manner in which it was being conducted would indeed lead to appropriate recommendations on the selection of an international partner.
That is correct. You did get advice from the United States, but the last time the United States, and from US Navy Secretary Don Winter, retired US Navy Vice Admiral Paul Sullivan and Rear Admiral Thomas Eccles, they were actually on this based on sound experience, but the whole fact is America had not launched a submarine, diesel submarine for 55 years.
This was about a submarine program, and these are people with a lot of experience in submarine design. Might I also add that we have a lot of experience in the operation of diesel-electric submarines ourselves. So we understand many of the factors around battery technology. I'd just like to add...
I just have a limited time with this, what I'm asking you.
Surely, Chair.
Yes,
I think courtesy on both sides is required here.
Senator Hanson.
I agree, but see, with these questions I need to ask, I just have to say, you're actually going to pump jets or pump jets into a sub. Now, is it true that pump jet submarines can only stay underwater for 20 minutes?
No, Senator. I do not know what you're referring to about pump jet submarines remaining underwater for 20 minutes. Can I just be clear again? A pump jet is a form of propeller. It has no bearing on how deep a submarine can go, how long it can stay underwater. They are matters that pertain to the platform design of the submarine.
What about a diesel sub? So we are going
to buy diesel-electric submarines, and I can assure you, Senator, they're going to stay underwater for much longer than 20 minutes. We have
3 days? For 3 days? What's the period of time?
I'm not going to reveal what our requirements are for submerged endurance. That is classified. But
I don't think it's classified because actually
Senator Hanson, you don't get to make the call on what's classified and unclassified in this conversation.
So you can't...
Rear Admiral?
So you can't disclose, which is knowledge of how long a diesel can stay underwater compared to what a nuclear sub can stay underwater.
A diesel-electric submarine can stay underwater depending on the way it's designed. So that refers to matters about the size of the battery, the manner in which the hotel load, which is the power that is consumed by the submarine when it's operating, is used, and so forth. There are a number of factors that go into the period of time that a diesel-electric submarine can remain submerged, Senator.
This Barracuda, actually there is still one on the slipways in France that hasn't even been tested, and we're actually basing a design on that has not been tested. Do you believe that is in our interests?
We have selected Naval Group as competent designers of diesel-electric submarines and indeed ocean-going submarines. We made that assessment on the basis of the competitive evaluation process, which I've endeavoured to explain was a very thorough process. We have no reason to believe that France is not capable of designing a submarine to meet our requirements.
And you don't believe we may be making the same mistakes as we did with the Collins class when that was its first design and it's cost us billions of dollars?
No, I don't, because we've learnt many lessons from the Collins program and implemented those as we've gone forward with the future submarine.
Is the Barracuda designed as a nuclear sub? That was basically is a nuclear sub?
The French Barracuda, the submarine that they will be employing in their navy, is a nuclear-powered submarine. The submarine that we're working on with Naval Group is a diesel-electric submarine.
But it is still the short-fin Barracuda, which is a nuclear sub. So we're actually taking a nuclear sub and we're going to make it a diesel sub.
No, it's
No,
not, Senator.
no, Senator.
Right.
We are designing a submarine that will have certain lineage in terms of the work that that France has done in designing both the Barracuda and conventional submarines. And that's quite natural in any submarine design and build process. If you looked at any nation designing and building a submarine, they will always refer back to the lineage of designs they've done. What we have the benefit of doing here with France is leveraging the design work that they've done in the Barracuda and a number of conventional submarines that they've designed and built and delivered to other navies. And using that as the basis for the design for the future submarine, which, as I said, is a conventionally powered submarine. You cannot convert a nuclear submarine to conventional power. And that's often been stated in the media, and I understand most recently in the Inside Economics report. The effort is not to convert an existing boat into a diesel-electric submarine. We're designing a submarine using many of the learnings, many of the references that come out of the Barracuda design, and a good example there would be something like hull diameter. If you're going to change the diameter of the hull of a submarine, you're into a whole set of new calculations about the structural integrity and strength of the submarine. If we can utilise the work that France has already done in having a hull diameter that's very similar to Barracuda, we can leverage all of that design work, which has not only gone into the Barracuda, but has been tested by France in their methods of design and certification to get to this point.
Thank you, Rear Admiral.